All right, and we're back. This will be part two, and I'm gonna let Candy take it away because this is her show.
Oh, okay. You can't have a great show without a great team. So, hey again, beautiful people. This is part two, as Coach Ralph just mentioned. This is just the audio for an invite only virtual candy conversation party that was recently hosted. So, if you haven't already listened to part one, click the link in the caption to hear the audio for that portion. However, you will quickly discover there is a lot of personality and character from the individuals that joined in on the combo. As mentioned before, we always hope to create a space for honesty, laughter, healing, and a little real talk with heart. So we are sharing the convo with you. Go ahead, listen in, take what you need, leave us some love in the comments. And as we always ask so graciously, please like, share, comment, and subscribe so that you can stay tapped into our growing community. As mentioned before, another candy conversation is on the way virtually. So stay grounded, stay open, and see you soon.
One thing that my ex-husband asked me before we got me, and I'm gonna admit to my fault right now, so I don't want to hear nothing. He said, "Can you love me if I stay the way that I am right now?" And said yes. And that was a whole lie. That was a whole lie. And so with everything that has transpired, that was me, everything that happened in our relationship, because I was not honest with myself at that moment and with him. Everything, did I deserve it? No. Was he wrong? Was it messed up? Yeah. But at the end of the day, when I answered, yes, I can love you the way that you are with all of the things that I see and everything that I'm feeling, especially after we moved in together, because everything was lovely and fairy tales before we lived together. But me and my ex, we did move in together several months before we even officially got engaged and before we got married. And there were things that happened and things that I saw and I knew for me, who I am at my core, they were deal breakers. But I said, yeah, because in my mind, I was like, well, relationships are hard. And so women make decisions too when it comes to men and relationships. I decided he was who I was going to be with. One, he was the first man I ever lived with. And I done went through the fire explaining to my family, not even just my mama, but to my, my sister and aunts and stuff, that I'm moving in with somebody. And I had to take that, everything that came with that, from my family, because we don't believe in shacking. So I took a lot for that. And so I said, I'm not taking no L on this one. I done put myself, you know, we gonna make it work. And guess what? Everything that was bothering me, that I knew that there was a no, I can't accept you, it just got worse. Because those things don't get better. It's not a lie. They said that. Those things don't get better. They get worse. I was in a situation where I was, the breadwinner. And sometimes I felt there was resentment because of that. And it didn't matter that I did all the things. I was still the breadwinner and I still tried to hold down the traditional wife role at the same time. There was no pleasing or appeasing the situation because I wasn't the one for him and he wasn't the one for me. We both made a decision, and that's an example of when decisions go wrong. We decided to be with each other. And it just, and I, yeah. So that's all I wanted to say. Cause that's what I was thinking about. Like, yeah, it, situations is just, you just have to be careful. There's totally difference between, again, the one in who you decide to be with. So sorry.
Girl, no apologies. Oh, that was good. That made me come up with this next question. Can people truly change in relationships? And what's required for that? Like you said, it's a decision. I some people get in relationships with the hopes that they can change a person. That's a big no-no. People naturally evolve and change, and it may not always be what, it may be better for them than for us together, but people do change. But what's required for that? I do feel like it's a decision. Because people can choose to change to better their relationship, just like they can choose not to ever change because they never had any intention on changing. In fact, they didn't know that they were supposed to because somebody got with them with the hope that I'm gonna be with you and you're gonna change. And that's that assumption and that hope. Then that's the kind of hope. That's a different kind of hope that's false hope. Is that what we can call false hope? Because like you can't get in a relationship with the hope that someone's gonna change and you never had a conversation about this doesn't work for me. Is this something that we can come to a middle ground on or whatnot? Not asking you to completely, but some people just kind of jump in, especially when it comes to stuff like kids. Oh, we just gonna get together and then they'll change their mind after. No, when a person tell you they don't want kids or they want kids, that's usually like what is it a no a deal breaker situation.
Non-negotiable.
That's I was like, I know it started with an N, but I couldn't remember. So what are your thoughts on that? Like, can people truly change in relationships? That can, and this is a broad question. This can go a lot of different ways. And what's required for that?
Your question kind of prompts me to ask the men in this group a question.
Men, listen up.
So I've heard men say that when they met the person that became their spouse, that because of how they felt about that person or whatever, that it made them want to be a better man. So kind of like there was a change, or that they knew there were things about themselves that had to change if they wanted to have a healthy or a good relationship. If they wanted to keep this person, that they had to make changes with whatever they were doing, whether it's, I'm out here doing too much or I'm not doing enough. You had to step your game up or whatever. So I guess that's kind of my question because it kind of ties into what Candace asked. Have you been in a situation where you knew you weren't probably operating at your best self and that but you met someone and you decided that, or you fell in love, whatever, and you intentionally decided that you were changing yourself because you wanted to be a better partner for that person or a better man for that person? Yeah, that's my question. I hope that's clear.
It's not that he changes who he is. He just refines himself. Because listen, we all have all men, and I'm just gonna say all men have our little quirks about ourselves and little stuff that we don't change because that person's not the one. And then when you get to the point to where you realize that person is who you want, then you start shining your shoes and getting yourself prepared. And it's not the fact that you're showing her somebody that you are not. You're just saying, okay, it's time to put the toys away, put the games away, and step up and be a man. That you could have been the whole time, but you felt like you didn't want to do it because that person wasn't worthy of seeing that side of you. Because as men. I can speak for myself. Sometimes being vulnerable is scary for men. And sometimes that side of us that we want to show, we can't show because some women look at that as a form of weakness. And the fact that we can't do what we're supposed to do as men. So a lot of men put on a persona, put on a front because number one, it's not the person who they really want to be with, and number two, they don't want that person to see who they truly are. So, I mean, I wouldn't say that we change, but we realize what we have and what we need to do and stop doing. We can't go in a situation thinking, okay, well, yeah, I want to be with her, but I'm still going to play my games out here. You got to let that stuff go. So, you got to. And so that's why I say it's not so much of changing, it's that coming, you have that coming to Jesus talk with yourself. Okay, you got the woman in front of you that you want. You know what you got to do. Let's go ahead and do what we got to do so we can secure this bag. Because you don't want to goof it up. And then next thing you know, dang, I had the woman, the one right here in front of me, but I was too immature to make the changes I needed to make in order to make this relationship successful and also able to grow together. So that's my take on it.
I mean, for her question, I don't. A lot of my friends didn't have daddies, so they don't know how to do a lot of stuff that most girls want them boys know how to do. Like the older I get, the more I realize like most cats was raised by their mamas. And when they raised by their mamas, so you got a bunch of dudes that act like girls. So they don't know they want flowers. They want this, they want that. You know what I mean? Most men don't know what men being a man is. You know what I mean? They ain't got nobody to show their mama how to properly love their mama or whatever. And then, you know what I mean, the more you go, like the more you get older, every girl ain't the same. Most niggas is the same. Every girl's ain't the same. So you got to relearn everything, and you know what I mean. So it's just I think to more or less answer your question is more or less most guys just don't know. You got to look at who you. Now that I'm older, this is weird as fuck. I keep saying this shit. I've been saying it for like the last 3 days, man. But dog, I understand arranged marriages sometimes. I understand sending your children to certain places. Like, no, you're getting around these places. You're getting around these type of guys. Cause I love myself. I love the fuck out myself. But I'd be damned if I get my daughter to talk to a nigga like me, dog. No, that's what ain't happening, bro. Like, it ain't even a bad situation. You just gotta talk to somebody better than me. But if I'm putting up a certain amount of money for you and I'm making sure you straight, I can't have you squandering it with some old slick talking ass nigga from the city. No, I can't do that. I can't have that. So, you know, most guys that most guys that I know and I cut, they ain't had no daddies. Now the ones that got a daddy, they got a solid marriage, from what I know, because I don't know what goes on behind these people closed doors. But you know what I mean. They got a solid daddy. I got one dude right now. He had a daddy. He ain't had shit growing up. Both of his sons graduating in the same fucking week. One getting their masters and one getting their masters and one getting their bachelors. You know what I mean? So it's like it's a good day, good week for him, but he got a father and his kids ain't got no kids in the street. Them niggas is good for what we know. You know what I mean? For what we know. But it's the representation. Ain't no representation of no good men in the household right now. So we dead. Niggas don't know what the fuck to do. So when we see what the fuck we see, we just gonna see what we see. And hope she let us sit home and play video games like my mama did.
Hey, I got to chime in on this one because I'm gonna tell you, I've seen. I'm going back to having a father in the household. Having a father in the household doesn't mean you're gonna have a successful marriage, because I know some people who grew up in a household without the father being present in the household that have successful relationships right now. And I've seen people who have grew up in a household with both parents who had the Barack Obama, Michelle Obama type of marriage, and their kids get married and turn around and be divorced 90 days later.
Everything's situational at the end of the
And
day.
say again, situational.
Everything is
But,
situational.
but one thing I can say is that, and I can only speak for us downtown. Yeah, my father was in our household, but we had multiple fathers in our community. I mean, across the street from our house, we had Mr. McLeod. Down the street, we had Mr. Green. Okay, I mean, literally every father figure in the neighborhood will say something to you that stuck with you, that allowed you to develop who you are today. So, and I guess what I'm going on is that even though a son or a child might not have a father in the household, that community around that child is still going to help that child grow to be a very successful person. Because again, there's a lot of kids I see right now, and I tell them, hey, you don't want to do that, man. Don't make the same mistake I made. Go to class. Don't get kicked out of college because you decided to party. I ain't telling you what I think. I tell you what I know. And again, as men, that's one thing I will say. As men, we have to continue to develop and grow on a daily basis, because in our society, men was always looked at as the worker, can't show no feelings, can't express themselves. We just got to go out there and work, 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 work. And again, it's going back to what was said earlier about women in this society that we live in being more successful than our black men. That's true, because you got to understand, when we were coming up, yes, we were pushed that the women should go get education and we should go straight to work. Because even when I went to college, my dad actually told me that I should become a mechanic. But I said, no, I'm gonna go try to college. No, you need to go out there and start work. You got to work, because you got to work, 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 work. And again, it's caused a discord in our society, because you have a lot of men out there that are hard workers that are not making the money that a lot of women are making. And it is causing an issue in the household, because again, and going back to what Siobhan said, a lot of men don't know how to adjust the roles in the household. Okay, you're not the breadwinner in the household. Okay, but it should be a balance in the household where, listen, okay, you're the man, but being the man of the house doesn't mean beating on your chest like you some silverback gorilla, and you got to prove to her each and every day that this is my house, this is my rules, this is my toilet. You're gonna do what I say. It doesn't work like that. You got to work together as a team. And that's a part of our black community that a lot of our black men were never taught, how to work together as a team with your counterpart. So
Just to be fair, two-parent households don't really, male figures can produce women who grow up that think it's okay to be beat, that think it's okay to be lied to, cheated. It just depends on what those kids see. And I always go back to, as an educator, I've witnessed a lot of kids who have single parent homes as well as two-parent homes. And those two-parent homes sometimes produce a lot of toxic habits in children that grow up and carry that on into their own relationships, because that's all you see. That's what you think is the norm. So it's just saying, I am not trying to go against what was said, but the quality of that two-parent household makes a big difference, because there's a lot of little crazies being raised in these streets.
I'm gonna try to get everything in here. So I want to piggyback off of what you said, especially as a coach, because of patriarchy, because of racism, we have been handed this trope of two-parent household, two-parent household, two-parent household. Don't matter what it looked like, because we come from generations of broken homes from slavery. We got to stick together. And then we move forward to whereas we're broken apart again, where our men are sent off to war, we stay home, we got to stick together. For us in the Black community, is about sticking together, not about healthiness. So then, like I said before, because mama needed to stay with daddy because daddy worked, I help him work the fields, I help him do this, we stay together because I can't get a job, I can't get a bank account, I can't have things without him. Then we have all of these kids, and when he's frustrated, yeah, he beat on me. When he's frustrated, he go drink, and I got an alcoholic husband. Yeah, when he's frustrated, because he's also been told, you don't get to have feelings, you don't get to cry, you don't get to say it's hard, you don't get to say, today ain't the day, I just need a break. You don't get to say, you get to be a man, stop acting like a pussy, you need to man up, you need to do all of these things. You don't get to cry. So then I go cheat, then I go do drugs, then I go drink, because that I don't have an outlet, because I was just told, push your feelings down, push your feelings down, push your feelings down. But I also have 5, 10, 11 kids in the house. And kids do by what they see and not by what they hear. And I just wanted Candace to confirm that. So when you tell your children, don't do as you see me do as I say, they're going to do just that. They're going to do as they see. So when mom and daddy yelling all the time, we don't even kiss, we don't even hug, what you think they're going to do when they get in a relationship? My mom and daddy stayed together for 20 years. They ain't never kissed. They don't be hugging. Yeah, because they hated each other. But you thinking, my mom and daddy stayed together for 20-something years. So it is better to have a one-parent household that is healthy than to have a two-parent household that is toxic. Because all you doing is sending another toxic, motherfucker out there that somebody got to deal with and go to therapy for because y'all want to have a two-parent household. Now, back to what Harry was saying. So I think it was Harry or it might have been Steven. So I'm going to have to agree with the guys here and say, as women, we also don't help. A man could, everybody doesn't need to go to college. I'm sorry to say that. For the Black community, going to college has become a personality trait. So if you are good, you can look at a car and be like, yeah, it need this, that, and the third. You need to be a mechanic. You need to be a mechanic, right? But for some reason, everybody think they supposed to have a 6-figure nigga. I don't know if they think, like, who's working on the cars? Who's working at the gas station? There are some, those construction men, they make money. There's men on these ports, they make money. Okay? So you in your mind, you think everybody's supposed to have a 6-figure nigga? No. Because we're not teaching people to date for character. We're teaching people to date for what's outside of them.
Hey, we got a Miami section.
And that also goes to what Siobhan was saying. Her question was, why do men change when they get with somebody? Again, that's outside of you. That's fake and it's not going to hold up. If you get with somebody and you be like, I got to sharpen up. I got to polish myself up for this person. That's not, you didn't say, I want to do that. And the reason why I say it doesn't hold up, for everybody on here, either you've seen intervention or you know someone who drugs, alcohol, whatever the case may be. When addicts want to go to rehab, they make the choice to go to rehab. Dumb people can cry. You can read that letter. You can beg and plead and do all the things. And they'll go to rehab and come right back out and relapse. That's the same thing. When somebody does something for the benefit, for the prize, for the admiration, for the validation of somebody else outside of them, it's harder to hold up because it's not true to them. It's not like, I want to do this for me. When somebody makes a choice to do it for themselves, then they do it. But if I'm doing this so Stafford can like me, I'm only holding this up until, because if Stafford don't like me no more, guess what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna quit. I don't have to do this anymore. I can go back. So it's fake. It's to what I'm saying for Siobhan, it's fake. It's all fake. It's like, all of a sudden he changed for her. He didn't change for her. He putting on for her because he know I gotta act like this nigga to be with her. This girl, she stopped holding around. She knows she got to act right to be with this man. So it's all fake. It's no substance to that. And the moment an opportunity comes for them to put that mask down, they will. And then they'll put it back on when they get in the house. So you want to make sure, and I tell people this now, stop asking these dumb questions about what school you went to, what's your credit score. When you're dating somebody, I don't care what job you got. All I need to know, are you paying your own bills for yourself? I don't need to know what school you go to, because what me knowing what school you went to does for me now. I need to know, do you have a relationship with your mom and what that looked like? When's the first time your parents disappointed you? I need to be asking character questions. You know what I'm saying? How are you when you get mad? Are you able to communicate when you're upset and the things that you need? Do you need time? Or are you willing to talk about it right then and there? If you can't answer those questions, then we don't need to date. A lot of people are going based off of, can I deal with this, instead of, are we aligned? Because why am I even thinking about, oh, if I tell this person I don't like this, will they change? Are we aligned? Because when I was going through premarital counseling, just like Siobhan was asked the question, our therapist asked the question, if she never changed and if he never changed, will you be okay? And if the answer is no, you don't need to marry them. The person you married, if they never choose to change a day in their life, you need to be like, that's my boo. Just as bad shit crazy as they are, that's my boo. I love them. But if you're like, oh, I wish you would stop doing that, or stop trying to change people. Because if they are happy for who they are and whatever state that they are in, then if you're saying you want to be with that person, then you need to accept them for who they are. Because like I said before, if they're at their true, authentic self, and that's their closest to God, who are you to tell them they need to change that? And I'm done.
I'm gonna say, wow, my point is probably a couple points behind. So I apologize. I was sitting up here trying to figure out what's going on with the TS Madison, honey, because there's some drama on YouTube, honey. But anyway, I want to kind of go back a little bit, if I could, as it relates to when we were talking about like, and I think actually Harry touched on it a little bit when we started talking about patriarchy and stuff, and that's the way to get me lit, because I'm very anti-establishment because going back to the first couple minutes of our conversation where we were talking about, and Rafi brought it up, well, if the playing fields are different now than they were back in the day. Back in the day, I had to rely on my husband or my man or whoever to take care of me because I was not able to go out and work. I was barefoot and pregnant all the time. I had no education. I had no skills. So whether he was beating on me, verbally abusive or whatever, I had to stay because I had these kids and I had no other options. Well, now I feel like what's messing up a lot of guys is that nobody knows how to get out of that tangible stuff, that provider stuff. So now when you push that aside, here comes this red pill, blue pill stuff. Well, I can't stand when women do this. Well, take that stuff away because we even playing field most times, most cases. Not saying some females aren't out here to be like, I need my nails done, I need my, because that's gonna always exist. It is what it is. But for women that saying, I don't need to talk to you. We don't need to talk about that type of stuff right now because I just need to get to know you and know what you can offer me emotionally. I feel like it's like deer in headlights because they don't know how to, because all they know about is I can bring this, I can make this, I should be able to do this. A man supposed to do, no, a man should be able to feel, a man should be able to be emotionally intelligent, a man should be able to, you know, want to do more than just say, I brought home the bacon, now you cook it. Well, we both got bacon. Some nights I need you to fry it. And let me sit down. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's talk about something other than like, you know, well, I can do this, I can do that, I can do this. We both can do it. So emotionally, let's start there. How can we benefit one another? So I think that's my biggest thing. When you start talking about patriarchy, I'd be like, because I just feel like we got to get out of that. And I feel like that's why it's always Mars and Venus, because a lot of times, and women get into it too. And sometimes I even have to retrain myself because I think sometimes we find ourselves saying, well, the man should be able to do this. Well, you know what? In a lot of cases nowadays, unfortunately, due to extreme circumstances, sometimes every household is not set up to be like that. So if it's not, is that detrimental? It's not going to work. You know what I'm saying? So that was my only point. And I'm sorry, I'm probably a point or two behind, so I apologize, but just want to throw that out there.
No, I
Thinking
go ahead,
about
Tisman. I see you. Go
oh,
ahead.
I'm sorry. I was thinking about something that Stafford just said, or it made me think of something. Um, See, with the whole like old patriarchy, I gotta stay, no matter what he doing, because basically I don't have any options. Because that has changed, and that's no longer the thing for the vast majority of women, not all, because some you know, they they go through life, and at when they become of age, they want to get married, and be that housewife. That's some people's, you know decisions, which is nothing wrong with that. But I do believe our generation of women were pushed more by our family to get an education. You can get you a good job, so you don't have to depend because of what they had previously been through. But with that being said, and we need to pivot because, now, in this economy, most people can't survive on a one income household. We have two or whatever. So, a lot of the time, the expectation, my opinion, is that yes, the women are pivoting about that because we're helping financially and things like that. But that pivot doesn't happen on the other end as far as what their expectations are, or their role going forward, because that old system is no longer in play. And I'm not necessarily talking about, just financially, but, since, we're changing, things are changing. Not only, yeah, I need my wife to help, I can't, whatever, but then you're not willing to change and say, okay, I'm going to do these things in the household, I'm going to do these things with the kids. Sometimes I see like there's still no equity in the situation, where it's like, and I think, in my opinion, from just my conversations with other women, and myself, sometimes it's like, okay, you want all of these things right here, but you're not doing anything. So why am I the old I can do bad by myself thing? I can just do this by myself, because yeah, that red pill, blue pill thing is really crazy right now, because it's like, what are you bringing to the table? I think sometimes it's on both sides, because there's some men who, they have resources, or sometimes it's not even about resources. There are a lot of good men who, they may not make as much as, their spouse or whatever, but they are really good partners. They're really good at backing, and they don't have any issue supporting, because sometimes, again, when you pivoting, so you are now doing, you're in a support role, you're comfortable with that. I'm going to do whatever I need to do to make my relationship work, right? But then you have some men be like, okay, yeah, you helping out in this area, but I still expect these traditional things. And sometimes it's just one-sided. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I don't want to feel like I'm jaded or anything like that. I've tried not to be, but that has been my experience. It just seems like everything is just kind of, it's become one-sided, and everybody is, listening to all these podcasts, and they're forgetting like the true essence of relationships and what that means. And it's just silly at this point. It really, really, really is a whole bunch of foolishness. Um, so it makes you not even want to, interact like that, because it's like, this is silly. And I ain't got no time to be trying to explain to a man how to be a man, because you don't need to explain to me how to be a woman. So that's just kind of how I am. But that's it.
I don't know. It was something that Stafford said, and I can't remember exactly. I should have wrote it down. But something you said just now, Stafford, made me think about just having a safe space to be vulnerable and creating that with your partner. And making sure you have that space for yourself as well. And it just made me think about just like, I'm always doing like personal work, like self-reflection, deepening my understanding of me. And to be quite honest, it's not something that needs to be broadcast when you're doing it because it's for me. Um, so like over the last few months, one of the things that I have done, because I think I was struggling to connect emotionally in some ways, but it wasn't even that it wasn't even that the desire wasn't there. So it goes back to what Stephen and Jay were saying. It was just like lack of understanding on how to do it. Like he genuinely was like, didn't know that this wasn't happening. So I understand that there are some things that I can't just say. If you don't have an understanding, I can tell you till I'm blue in the face, but if you don't know how to do it and I don't know how to tell you how to do it, we're back at square one. So what I did was focus on me. And I reminded myself that, what I did was I said, you know what, I'm going to really focus on my relationship with God a little bit more, deepen my relationship. And the one thing that I kept saying to myself is, I know that I'm loved no matter what, unconditionally, truly unconditionally. And me focusing on that increase my self-love because I'm like, even if I don't get this right, even if I don't get whatever it is going on in my life right, I'm still loved. Like I'm not a failure. And sitting in that space, not and I wasn't feeling like a failure or anything at all. But that was the space that I went to at that time because I knew it was something that I needed to do for myself. And the peace beyond understanding that came from that experience and that practice began to I guess, trickle out into the relationship. So like there's a lot more ease because I know it shifted my energy because of what I was doing. And it kind of just made our relationship easier too. We laugh a lot more, we joke a lot more, and it wasn't that it was hard to do before, it's just more natural now. But and I don't have a problem saying if there's something that I need to do for myself, to care for myself, to love myself more, I'm just sharing it. It's not for approval. And it honestly, even though he's my partner, I care for him deeply. I love him. If he doesn't understand it, it doesn't mean I'm not going to do it. This is for me. But we've come to the space where we have that understanding. So I say all that because I don't know what you said. I wish I could remember what you said, but it made me think of one of the biggest issues in relationships is people do not know how to be vulnerable because they don't feel safe being vulnerable. But again, I guess what I was thinking of is I had to create that space for myself because I can't expect somebody, you know what I'm saying? It was almost like I'm going into model mode. That's the teacher in me, maybe naturally. But it wasn't even that I was telling him, hey, I'm doing this and I'm doing that. But people can see you change when you make those efforts. So you don't have to articulate it all the time. I'm going to try to do more virtual convo parties. This one, again, was like a closed one-ish, so that we could do the recording. But thank y'all for being here. But or any topics that you maybe want to talk about next time, you can send those to me. Your mind will be going for those of you who haven't done this in a while and you forgot. You're going to have a whole lot of stuff come up over the next few days that you should have said. Other than that, it's been great.